Wow, look how crazy it is. We just came across a place that sells dog meat. Vietnam is one of the countries that has impressed me the most for the exotic dishes they eat, from fried snake to worm omelet. In the words of the locals themselves, here they eat almost anything that moves. Welcome to another edition of Luisillo El Gordillo. We are in Vietnam, one of the most exotic countries I have eaten in the whole planet. And I do not say this with exaggeration, I say it with great certainty. Many of the recipes that are eaten here have blown my mind. In this Vietnamese special by Luisillo El Gordillo, we will be trying a little bit of everything. I warn you once and for all that some of the recipes may shock more than one, so we recommend it at your own discretion, and if you feel you can't stand it, skip to the next chapter, because yes, Luisillo El Gordillo, a man who has traveled a lot, who has seen it all, is telling you. The gastronomic offer here is on another level. So come on, let's venture into the streets of Vietnam, let's go for it. We can't be making a video of street food in Vietnam without trying the very famous pho, possibly the most internationally known Vietnamese recipe. Basically, a soup of rice noodles stirred in beef-based broth, which can be seasoned to taste and accompanied with chicken, beef, vegetables, etc. We have come to this very famous place called Pho Tan, which has been operating since 1979 and has expanded throughout the country. There are even branches of this same company in Australia, the United States, and Japan. For the equivalent of about $3, they promise a quality dining experience. And look at the system here to buy is very interesting. You pay from the entrance one, please, my dear friend. You grab your kwai, which are these typical breads with which you accompany your pho, and proceed to enter. You take the seat here that you think is convenient, and then someone comes to leave you your sopon. They already brought me my sopon. It looks hot. While it cools down, I tell you that this is actually the first branch of Mr. Thin's entire empire. In fact, the place is called Pho Thin because the owner is Thin, which in Vietnamese means dragon. Here we are looking at the photo of Mr. Thin with his wife. Very happy in the place. Let's try it. Here we can add spicy, we can add oils, lemon, sauces of all kinds. Top no min Vietnamese for provechito. How delicious. Applause to Master Thin. It is really delicious. How tasty that for about $3 you can eat so delicious. We proceed to try the curious and controversial poop soup. In some areas of Vietnam, they prepare this type of broth whose base is the inside of the intestines of animals squeezed, used to the maximum. This soup can be made from various animals, especially buffalo and horse. The one we will taste below is made from horse mayonnaise and is in fact a very friendly adaptation of this dish. There is a much more authentic version, much more traditional, in which the buffalo's intestines are squeezed out all full and it is practically the only thing that is eaten, the animal's poop. In this soup, which is much friendlier, the intestines are partially cleaned out and pieces of liver, meat, tongue, blood are mixed in here, the animal being used to its fullest. I would like to try the authentic one, the one with only poop, but they tell me that this one is only prepared on a specific date, and by bad luck, it's not right now when we are visiting. In the future, we will be able to document it in more detail, maybe even dedicate a whole video to just the poopy broth. As for the place, of course, we may have some Cacoso notes of this broth. Who is one to judge? All they are doing is taking 100% advantage of the animal. If you're going to eat it, don't pick it out or put it in whole. Well, come on, let's inhale. The truth is that the way they cook it, it's very boiled, so it doesn't smell shitty or anything. Let's try the broth. No, obviously, that is a very friendly version. It tastes good, really. It tastes like a very hearty broth. Let's try it, Provochin. Of course, this is not the first time I've tasted horse. I have already tasted it in several countries. Just with this specific preparation, yes, the meat feels tough as if it is difficult to chew. The liver, just like chewy. The intestine, I am told that this one, in fact, is a little more expensive because it is the part closest to the anus. It is the best priced, you see. For all my ano amantes that way, tasty, tasty, tasty. No, this one was horrible. With all due respect, excuse me, no, this one was horrible. It was pretty bad. The horse's anus, I didn't like it. I take away the taste with a little bit of noodles. Well, look at this preparation. The truth is that it is not bad at all. I would even say that in general, it tastes good. Another time we will be able to try the original recipe as such, the poop soup in its maximum splendor. But for now, I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to show you and tell you about this very, very curious custom. Wow, this food court is massive, super full, super busy, and we are seeing lots of deliciousness. It smells very tasty. We're going to try this sort of local tamale called nem, which is basically masa with carnita inside. They wrap it in a banana leaf, just like a tamale. Vietnamese tamale. Oh no, I was wrong. This has nothing to do with a tamale. The impression was worthy. I get it. This is what makes it different. They mix the meat completely with the flour and cook it all together. Then when you bite into it, it has a sausage-like texture. Cold meat doing the mole fusion with a tamale, you get the nem, the Vietnamese tamale. Let's see this other one. How curious, see? This one, I'm told, might actually taste a little weirder to me because it's raw. The other one is cooked. Something tells me that this one is going to be very strong. Oh, wow, no, I didn't like this one so much. It's okay, but it tastes a lot like vinegar. It's like the cooking, in quotation marks, of the meat is done with vinegar. So it gives you some very strong notes. Wow. From the appearance, I thought it was going to be like a sweet tamale, so it was going to taste like a raisin petal, a dessert. No, dead pork with vinegar, that's what it is. Now let's try this other dish called manikan, which is basically like a hot cake with a quail egg. Let's see how it goes. It looks rich and smells very tasty. Extremely greasy, but very tasty. There what it is, a little bread with egg, vegetable of taste. A custom that is slowly disappearing in Vietnam, but still very much alive, is the consumption of snake meat. We have come to a small village on the outskirts of Vietnam where people raise snakes to sell their skins and meat for human consumption. Next, they will give us a demonstration of how they prepare the snake with a rice liquor, a dish that they boast is very typical and very succulent. Here, my friend, the good Jai, professional snake chef, is going to give us a demonstration. We are going to try a type of snake that is not poisonous. They call it the dry snake. It is a small snake. What is very curious is that in the restaurant, they offer you the experience of preparing it in front of your eyes, but we are talking about literally killing it in front of your eyes. In other words, here they take its life, here they mix it with the liquor. Wow, okay, all at once. This, of course, we'll have to censor it for the video, but basically here they took out its little heart and are proceeding to pour the snake's blood into the rice liquor previously served. You're looking at that, the heart is still beating. There, my friend is now proceeding to open it up. That is the bile, what they just took out of it. You are seeing that is green. This leftover skin, I thought they would then sell it to make bags or the like, but no, they tell me they fry it and basically make a chicharron, which is considered a local delicacy. The snake has now passed into the hands of the next chef who is proceeding to fillet the snake meat. He is going to season it. He is slicing a gengibrito here, my brother. Once the mixture is ready, it goes inside. There it is. And really, once it's all cooked in little pieces, it could be carnitas. You don't even know what you're eating. And they mix it with many things. So I feel that if they didn't tell me it was snake, I honestly wouldn't even consider it. Surely the meat is going to be even delicious. Now let's try the serpentine feast. We have rice liquor with blood, rice liquor with bile, pork rinds, meat seasoned with celery, onion, chili, and garlic, the seasoned powder of the spine, and some tortillas, some rice tostaditas just to go with it. Let's start with the blood liquor. I think that's what it is. Oh, another one arrived, as if that wasn't enough. A little bit of porcupine here. Let's start with the liquor. It smells like liquor, to be honest. That's what it is. Very strong rice liquor. Salusita, the locals would say. Actually, it tastes just like rice liquor. I even think that if they gave it to me like that in a bar, I would say they gave me a Bloody Mary, a Michelada here with Clamato. That's what it is. It doesn't look like anything else. And look, as you are telling me that the heart must be consumed, it is like this, you see. You put the heart in a shot, you proceed to mix it with the liquor. So this is supposed to give a different bloodier notes to your liqueur, Salucita. Vampire's Delight. That tasted really bloody to me. They do taste when, I don't know, they've probably been cut sometime and sucked. It tastes a little bit like rust. That's what it tastes like. It's not pleasant. We continue with the snake bile liquor. I want to make a special emphasis on the color this takes on. See how curious it is. If you tell me it's like this little melon liqueur with lemon, I'll believe it. Salucita. It is extremely bitter. It's like when you're sick and you throw up in the morning that you haven't eaten anything, that you just threw up stomach fluids. That's what it tasted like to me. With all due respect here to the chef, to everybody who put the work into this, but that's what it tastes like to me. So now let's get down to the good stuff. What shall we start with? I think with the chicharron, right? It is the one I am most curious about. It is even the one that I think looks the most graphic. Bon appetit, tup numi. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. This one is really good. I like this one very much. If they told me it's fish skin fried like this, I believe it. It's very tasty. It kind of takes on more of the notes of the oil with which it was fried. We continue with the ground and seasoned snake bone. This one is really weird. Yes, it feels sharp like chewing it. It even hurts a little bit, but the taste is not bad. Any seasoned meat, pork carnitas could be. It's not bad, but it's weird to know what it is. And let's go to the grouper, the daddy of the chicks, the meat of the snake. This is what the little pieces of the meat look like to give us an idea. Provechito. Okay, juicy, chewy, hard to chew actually. It tastes a bit like cow entrails. When you ask for your taquito, half solid, half tripe, more or less like viscous. It's curious, especially because I know what it is. It tastes bad. Yes, I could make me a taquito out of this, and honestly, when it's all mixed up like that, you don't even know what you're eating. Let's see if I can find a less slimy piece of meat as if it were better cooked, because I feel that this is going to be the big difference. I think this one, see, this one here looks more sewn. In fact, it was a matter of grabbing more meat in the center of the snake's body, and this one is more fleshy. It tastes a little bit like fish. I imagine that in many of these countries they sell iguana, lizard, right? I have seen that in many parts of Latin America. Well, that's it. More or less those are the notes. We passed the taste with a rice tortilla. Delicious. Well, look, for about $40 that they sell you all this delicacy, I think it's pretty good. We concluded with the porco spin carnita. This is really delicious. We had already tried it in the Equatorial Guide. It's like a little pig. That's what it is. It's a pork with spines. It's a porcupine. Look, that this is a banquet that I would not give myself for pleasure, but if one day I am standing in a community that is the only thing they can offer me to eat, I have gladly done it. Provechito, chalucita. There is no doubt that in Vietnam they eat and drink very exotic. A delicacy of the rural communities of northern Vietnam, the stews with worms. We already went into the countryside through the swamps, got into the soil, collected a few earthworms, which we are now cooking in the form of an omelet, mixing them with egg. Just like your omelet, your ham and cheese omelet, your Spanish omelet with egg and potato, the same thing, but here they mix the egg with the worm. It's already cooking here. A very nice family from here invited me to join them. They were teaching me how to prepare it, what are the ingredients for the secret recipe so that it is really tasty. And likewise, here the family did me the favor of cooking me a soup in which they mixed the worm with egg, pineapple, bamboo, ginger, beet leaf, among other ingredients. A very interesting mixture and a stew with this same type of worm. I'm going to try to flip my tortilla. 1, 2, hey, just watch. Chef Louis Silo, master at conquering hearts and cooking Vietnamese worms. It's very interesting how the worms look very graphic physically. They didn't even cut them into small pieces. There goes the whole worm. Let's wait until it is well cooked and then we can taste it. Here the boss has already served us some rice liquor to give us courage. Me. It's delicious, very delicious. Now let's do the tasting. I must say that it is an impressive dish because you are looking at the, well, obviously the worm is there greeting you, right? Saying good morning to you. Here are your eggs to start the day with all the energy. Look, this one here is a fish sauce with garlic. So what I have to do is basically dip it in here. There you go. And in it goes. Now I'm going to eat a worm by itself because I feel like the egg is really disguising its flavor and it's not really tasting good to me. So let's see how it tastes. What do I tell you? It tastes like you're eating an anchovy. You know these anchovies, the little fish? It tastes more or less like that to me. Also, as they did the cooking, it tastes a little bit choppy, and with the egg, honestly, it doesn't even taste like that. If they had cut it into small pieces, I wouldn't even realize it was worms, and I've made it with pleasure. It is not pleasant at all. I was surprised. It is tasty. We continue with the worm soup, pineapple, ginger, etc. Provechito. This is super rich, and the bamboo they put on it looks like noodles. No, it suits us very well. And we continue with the worm stew. There it is. To this very peculiar stew, you put, of course, the worms and egg mixed with flour. There it is. It goes inside. Tup Naomi. Orally, it tastes like tamale. It tastes like yaka. Clearly, it is not a visual delight. It must be said as such. Visually, it is very impressive, but it is a delight for the palate. In other words, yes, it is tasty. It is tasty. I was pleasantly surprised. I never thought I would say this, but how delicious the worm omelette, the soup, the tamale. How tasty it is to cook with worms in northern Vietnam. One of the Vietnamese recipes that most attracts the attention of foreigners is the famous coffee with egg, originally from the Hanoi region. Just as you hear it, they add egg to the coffee, which makes it have a more than creamy consistency. It is said that the origin of this recipe dates back to the 1940s, when a barista in a cafe named Nguyen Ban Yang could not find milk to mix the coffee that the customer had asked for. So he said, "Boy, with grief, we're going to add eggs. Bring me your finest hen, I'll mix it here." Curiously, this recipe was well liked, and decades later it continues to sell very well. In this cafe, named after its supposed creator, Cafe Jiang, the closest recipe to the original has been prepared since 1946. Well, come on, coffee with eggs, how curious, I knew it well. How about it? I'd say it's not a drink, it's a food. It looks like a meringue for cake, like a little cream like that. It's really good, actually. I liked it, but very much. This place even sells beer with egg. Let's see how it turns out with beer. It's really weird, but it's probably going to be good. It's surprisingly tasty. I loved it. I love the delicious egg coffee with all its variations. Surely you have heard that in Vietnam some people eat dog meat. No, it is true. We just came across a place that sells this kind of meat. It clearly says it right there on their sign, Tu Lang Tit Cho, which Tu Lang is basically the name of the place, the name of the lady who owns the place. And Tit Cho is literally dog meat. Tit meat cho dog. And let's see, it's not like this is a forbidden subject. It's done under the law. It's taboo at all. We are in a very busy street, and here they have them exposed like this with a huge sign. Just over there, there is another place that also sells them, and there is another one next to it. It is estimated that the tendency to eat dog meat has decreased by 70% during the last 5 years, especially in the big cities where people with the passage of time see this as something bad and have put a stop to it due to the lack of consumption. Although it is completely legal in practically all the Vietnamese territory, omitting some few cities in which it has already become illegal. They tell me that when you go out to the side of the villages, this is something much more common, and that even people who have their dogs really as livestock, not as pets, who raise dogs to take care of their animals, to take care of their homes, it is considered something traditional that when relatives come from far away, friends come to visit you that you haven't seen in a long time, you sacrifice one of your dogs to feed them because it is a special meal, it is a special meal, it is a kind of good manners. And in fact, this type of meat is usually one of the most expensive things. Well, look how interesting and crazy it is to see how they are cooking the dog's blood sausage here. The tripe, the banderie is here in the middle of the street. Here, Mrs. Chulan let me pass by to see the stand. She has here some of the seasonings she puts on the meat. She has here the tails, right? Well, look, what I can say is that there are contrasts in the world, different ways of thinking. I don't think he ever applied that phrase better. Quite a fact, but quite disturbing. Well, what a gastronomic adventure this has been, just that. An adventure in every sense of the word. Comment below what was the recipe, the dish that impacted you the most, always keeping in mind the respect for other people's culture. Stay tuned to the channel as there are more great videos coming from Vietnam. Also, if you haven't seen the previous ones, I recommend you to take a look at them because Vietnam is a beautiful country that has a lot to offer. Thank you very much for joining me. See you, as always, as you know, in a few days with a new video. Bye!